Behold, RPGs and Baby Makes 3.
RPGs and Baby Makes 3. Reimagined.
What is Gretchen typing right now?
I'm offering a water key for someone to turn on the splash pad at Forsyth Mountain.
What is a water key something that's like local here in Savannah?
No, water keys are all over.
I had never even heard of them until we got here.
Well, I mean, this is where we've done most of our adulting and where we've owned a home where we actually need to have a water key in case stuff goes south.
So are you saying I wasn't an adult before I was like 35 years old? The stare says everything.
I mean, I don't know if I was an adult up until I had a kid, to be honest.
I'm Rob Hessler, and that's Gretchen Hilmer's RPGs and Baby Makes 3 Reimagined. That's all I get?
Yeah.
Reimagined. Alright, let's roll it for initiative. So we've actually been doing a lot of gaming, I guess. We have been doing a lot of gaming, kind of. Board games and RPGs.
Yes.
Well, we played another session of Junior Brave's Survival Guide to the Apocalypse.
Yep.
And that went way off the rails as you were transported into an alternative reality.
Yeah,
essentially.
I don't think that was written into the game plan.
No. When everybody failed their rolls and fell off the bridge, I had to figure something out quick.
It was pretty impressive. Was it like 4 of the 6 of us failed?
I think so. That should be up soon. I haven't posted that up if you want to tune into that episode. We're gonna do 4 sessions.
4 sessions.
I think. We've done 3. We're gonna do 1 more, I think, and then take a little break. I mean, not that we won't come back to it. Just, I want to do something else.
No, anytime you say we'll take a little break, you really don't come back to.
Well, I'm supernatural. I've come back to time and time again.
Yeah, now it's been like you're somewhere since we last played.
Yeah, but it's not. It's always on.
What about Dragonlance?
Dragonlance is more of a scheduling conflict issue because of the way that it's not that I didn't want to get back to it. We tried. It's just that it's really hard to get those particular people together and a sitter online on the regular. It just is a lot changed in terms of being able to make that game happen.
Yeah.
But Junior Braves I do want to get back to. I love that game. I think it's fun. You know? I just want to do some other different stuff. Because we're kind of trying to do, I don't know, at least for me, I'm trying to do more different games.
More different.
Well, yes, like literally more different games.
Different or more.
Games that aren't the games that I'm used to playing. And that's also what we played. We played Old School Essentials.
Yeah, boy. I went into that thinking. Because you told me you didn't, 5e was too difficult. And I was like, man, maybe it's harder for you, but it's easier for me. But it actually turned out to be not nearly as crunchy. And I was really happy about that.
You were so grumpy at the beginning of that session.
I was so grumpy.
You were so grumpy. But I mean, we all have that. I mean, I understand.
Well, yeah, we couldn't find the character sheet that I had. And I know I rolled some awesome stats. So I was like, yes! What were those numbers? And then I ended up finding that they were also on the D&D Beyond. So that's good.
Oh, you had put them in there. That's great. So that's where you ended up finding your stats.
Yeah, except for the, single 8 from that dice set you got me. Which I don't believe.
Okay.
I don't have superstitions about dice. But after doing some additional test rolls with that dice set, I realized I don't know if I really want to use this dice set. So
So it was interesting. So Old School Essentials, for those of you who don't know, it's essentially basic Dungeons and Dragons, old school, with just a little bit of kind of cleaning up. So I like to kind of call it like rules light D&D. It's not that you can't do a ton. You can kind of play the same games as you normally do, but it wipes out a lot of things. So you don't have skills, for example. Like your character knows what they know and they don't know what they know, and you trust the players that they're going to be genuine about that. And I don't know, everything is a lot more straightforward. There isn't as many little bits and pieces of numbers that you gather from many different sources to combine for making rolls. It's kind of like straightforward, you know?
Oh my god, it's just too much. It's too many numbers, Rob.
The attack matrix thing is a really good resource for you as well.
Yeah.
Where you roll. So basically there's this like chart that you fill out on your character sheet. So you know whatever die roll you roll, it will tell you what AC you hit. You don't even have to think about it. That makes it a lot easier. But it was interesting. You know, it was the first time I'd run that. I mean, first time I've played it before. In fact, I've even played that adventure.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
When did you do that?
It was years ago. I don't remember if it was Rusty James, who's a RPG guy, or someone else who ran that. We've played with Rusty Troika.
Oh, okay.
Ages ago.
God,
But I've stayed in touch with him. He's a cool dude. And he releases his own RPG things. Sorry, Rusty, for not giving you a shout out of your stuff right now, but he's an RPG creator as well. Just look him up and you can find out what he does. But he's done some stuff. So he ran that for a few of us. Actually, Chris, who plays in the Temple of Elemental Evil game now, our Lord Cass from across the pond, was in that game with me. But anyway, it's like very straightforward. So you kind of can. It took us a while to make characters because everybody was new, and we were trying to convert 5th edition characters that had already been made over to Old School Essentials. But once we got rolling, I thought it was pretty easy. It's a very simple game. I was also just playing it like that last night because we were like sort of learning it, so I wasn't being like super dungeon master full on. I was kind of just sitting back, hanging out with my friends, trying out a new game together.
Yeah, but there was the what is it? Roll to not
Save
die.
versus death.
Save versus death. Yeah.
Okay, so our good friend Taffy is playing this kind of a-hole pirate that's a water genasi, so like a water descendant of water genies, basically. And her character, they go into this room with this 8-foot tall sculpture of stone carved skulls. Yep. Okay. And there are gems in the eyes of the skulls. Okay, that's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay,
you know.
but then
those skulls are kind of already a warning sign
right.
that there is.
But the real warning sign was all around this sculpture were skulls. Mostly intelligent humanoid skulls.
Intelligent?
In piles of ash. So, like, skulls lying in piles of ash all around the sculpture. So Taffy has her character go and pry out one of the gems.
Yeah.
And of course she had to save versus disintegration because it would have disintegrated her had she failed. She pulled that out, she made the save, and she got one of the gems.
Yep.
So that was kind of a funny...
And you know, my character isn't that bright, but he was bright enough to know it doesn't seem right. Nope.
Yeah. Your character is not particularly bright, but I think that was also, like, kind of adventurers maybe might just realize. I mean, and I was really playing it up, because I didn't want anybody to die. We were really trying to... I mean, for me, playing that game last night was really about getting together with 3 friends, me and then 3 of you, four of us. We ordered pizza, and we were learning how to play a new game, just having some fun. That's the way I looked at it. So I didn't want people's characters all getting blasted away and stuff,
It's like,
really,
man,
you know?
you just put all this time into making your character and you're going to die and then you have to make a new character? That sounds miserable. But she passed.
So what did you think of the game overall? I mean, it's been well established that Gretchen hates D&D. So what did you think I mean, you've only had a very small exposure to it.
I mean, there were some mechanics that I liked. Like, you know, we are pirates. We know how to swim. Though, as Amanda pointed out, historically, pirates didn't know how to swim. And in, you know, in D&D, if you don't take swimming, you don't know how to swim. You die. And I just think, I don't know, floating? Like, I feel like you would know how to float, or if you're a pirate, you would, you know, it would make more sense to know how to swim in this setting. I don't know. Like, that whole swimming thing always bugged me.
Well, and yeah, it's
It
like...
was just easy. That was easy. I like that.
It was interesting for me as a game master, too. So one of the things that happened in the game was Amanda Plagueman, who's been on lots of times before, and we got to have her back on, actually. I'd love to have Amanda on the podcast again.
We got to come up with something smart to talk about.
I know. She's playing a druid character, and so she has, like, natural abilities. Well, in Old School Essentials, it says, like, the ability to identify plants and animals. Like, they just have that ability, right?
Which
and
makes
so
sense.
we're playing this adventure, the Incandescent Grottos, and there are molds and mushrooms and natural creatures, like, within this. And... like, there isn't really a role for that. She just knows it. So it was interesting for me as a game master to just reveal information. So, like, if she inspected something and there was no danger inherent to inspecting it just in and of itself, then I just gave her the information. We didn't have to roll. And even me, I was like, I felt often like I should be making a roll or making somebody roll. But then I was like, why? Let's just play the game.
Yeah.
You know, but on the other hand, like, finding secret doors and some of this other stuff is really roll heavy. Like, you only can do it using a roll. So it's kind of...
But the great news is that if we find a door that's locked, I have a 5 and 6 chance of opening it because I'm so strong.
18 strength. But that was interesting. I recommend this game. I think it's pretty fun. I think it's a pretty good game. There's a lot of... It's hard to tell what you need to actually play the game in terms of the books. There's a lot of crossover. I have the box sets, which have these smaller books in them, but you can also get just big single core books. The box sets ended up being kind of problematic, I felt like, last night when we were trying to play. It was just like we were getting confused, which book is which, and there's some colors that are the same. It was a little bit confusing, but what I will say, at necroticgnome.com, which is the name of the company that makes the game, Necrotic Gnome, you can actually get the basic game for free download. And they only have 4 classes available, but there's 4 classes available there. It tells you how to play the game.
Googling around, people share what the other classes are and things like that, which is nice.
Yeah, and then they also have a magazine, Carcass Crawler, which is a regular magazine. I think maybe it comes out periodically.
Necrotic Gnome, Carcass Crawler. They got some things they need to talk about.
The Carcass Crawler is the Carrion Crawler, essentially, the same monster, but there must be some sort of, like, owned by Dungeons and Dragons, the term Carrion Crawler, so they've made a new thing called Carcass Crawler. There's a lot of that in this game. The monsters that are copyrighted, they have, like, the same thing, but it's a different name.
Yeah.
But more minimal spells lists and everything like that as well, which you didn't even look at.
I don't need to worry about that because I didn't want to build a character that I had to worry about any secondary stuff. He goes smashy smash.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's another character that's kind of obsessed with food.
Yeah, but I like that you're playing a brute.
Yeah.
You killed something with one hit. Right there.
Frog thingy.
Yeah, it's like a frog monster, a giant frog. You killed it in one hit. And
Yep.
You did, like, max damage. It was like 11 damage, which is a lot in this game for even any character, but a first level character especially.
Yeah, he smash.
Well, anyway, that was fun. So we got to play some games. Should we move into our main topic, which is going to be immersion?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious where you want to go with this topic.
All right, let's get into it.
Oh man, that's deep.
So we were talking about immersion in games. Now,
In what context?
okay, so let's get into this. The reason why we even started thinking about this a few episodes ago, I almost said few sessions ago, a few episodes of this podcast ago, we brought this up because I've been reading this series, which I keep talking about, by the Angry GM, about how to become a true game master. And it's a great series. And one of the arguments that he makes is that don't get rid of rules just because you think that they seem like they're not fun to you. Play the game as it's written, because that's the way the game is supposed to be played. And and those things are designed to help you be immersed in whatever game you're playing. So Dungeons and Dragons, one of the rules that they have is encumbrance. And he makes the argument that, yes, encumbrance, we all think of it as like being this annoying thing, but if you really go all in and you're thinking about the amount of ammunition you're using and how much water you have in your canteen and food and what you're carrying on you start really thinking about it, it really makes you put yourself into the character more.
It doesn't.
And okay, that's your opinion,
Man.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
but you've never done it. You've never really tried to do that for an extended period of time.
I have a little bit with Pika and Ravenloft. I was very careful about how many bullets she had and what she was carrying on her.
Okay.
So suck it.
Well, I mean, did you feel immersed in the character?
No. The problem is like, okay, so are you role playing? Or are you playing a game? Like, I guess I
It's
just kind of
both.
see them as different, though. Like, if you're role playing and you're getting into your character and you're immersing yourself in your character, but hold on, let me pull out my math chart here. Can I carry this sword? What do I need to take out of here? Can I, and like, that was the worst thing about something like Fallout, where I have to stop and unload and then choose the things that I want to do, find a place to stash the other items. Like, I don't feel like you are immersed in role playing. I feel like you become immersed in technicalities with a side of role playing.
Okay. I think that's a valid argument. I actually think you're right in that whenever you have to stop engaging with the other players and stop engaging like your attention to what is happening in the game, to look down at a piece of paper and start thinking about numbers.
Hold on, guys. This is 12 pounds. Let me math this out here.
Anytime you have to do that, I agree that there is a certain, like...
I just think that this is a big difference of someone who likes crunch and someone who doesn't give an F about crunch.
Okay,
Like,
this is a good question. Are we talking about immersion in the story or immersion in the role-playing game? Because you're not... Because it is called a game.
It's not a role-playing game. It's the game.
The game part of the role-playing game.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's both, though, don't you? Well, okay, I think it's both. I think both are a part of it.
Well, I think so too, but are you there for the joy of role-playing and resetting your brain to be something different? Or are you there to, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, pull out a calculator, do all your math stuff? Like, I just
Well, so
think...
then the argument would be, I think, is what you're really saying is that Dungeons and Dragons or games of those type where you have that kind of thing attached to it is not immersive for you if you play them by the book.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't just say for me. I would throw down on this with anyone.
Dungeons and Dragons is not a truly immersive role-playing game because of its nature.
Yeah, but I also think people who show up This is gonna land me in more hot water.
You're already the anti-D&D trained.
I think
You're on the
people who show up
conductor.
in costume, maybe it becomes a little too much. That happens a lot with a lot of Vampire the Masquerade players, where that was always the thing that always creeped me out, is like people got a little too heavy into it and lost themselves in the fantasy of it and brought it into the real world.
Yeah. That's troubling.
I think you have to be careful about immersion. I think.
Well, we're talking about a tabletop role-playing game, not... I would say there is, of course, a difference between that and, like, LARPing. Whereas, like...
Yeah, LARPing is different.
And because when I think of those vampire... So, I mean, Vampire the Masquerade was really that original version, and I forget what the Mind's Eye Theater or something was like that, what it was called or something. They were... I mean, you get in costume, and, like, you do all that. That's a part of it.
Weren't there some actual things that happened?
Of course.
Like,
yeah, you're right. There are people that have a really difficult time stepping in and out of that.
yeah, and I think I think you just have to be careful. I can pop in and out of character as much as I need to.
But you can pop in and out of character. I think this is a whole can of worms.
A whole other, yeah.
Because I was thinking of our good friend Kat Valentine, who she'll go deep into character, and you're like, it's a little bit, it can be unsettling, and yet then she can just flips it off. She is not becoming that person. She is acting as another character.
Yeah, and she's someone who can absolutely handle it.
Can handle that. So I think we all need to like be realistic about where we are mentally.
She has a very fluid nature with role playing.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
actually, she just has a fluid nature, doesn't she? She
does. I like that a lot. So we've been talking about doing another run of the game Alice is Missing, and I think this is a good time to bring up. That's a great game to talk Immersion, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar with Alice is Missing, there is a setup period at the beginning where everybody's talking to each other with, like in person or whatever, or we played it online the time that we played it, and everybody's talking to each other and everything in real life. But after that initial setup, you go silent. And there is a soundtrack that plays.
Yeah. And then it's all done through text messages?
It's all done through text messages, essentially, although many people have set it up through a Discord that does effectively the same thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like a group chat.
Yeah. And then there's an automated process whereby cards are thrown out, and it's done in such a clever way based on your initial setup that you and your fellow players help to create a story about the events surrounding Alice being missing.
Yep.
And I found that when we played that game, I was moved by that game. I thought that was powerful. I thought when we were playing it, it was really immersive at times. What do you think?
I think I was still in a postpartum period, and everything was really emotional and hard on me.
Oh, poor Gretchen. But it was an emotional game, though.
It is. It is.
It's.
But then add in real life postpartum issues. And that's a real thing.
I'm so sorry, Gretch. I mean, that is a really good point. I mean, role playing, there's going to be periods where you're in a place that's not. Got to think about, where are you? Can you play?
Yeah.
Is immersion good for you at that moment?
Like last night, you make a point. I was grumpy. I think everyone felt that grumpy, because when. So what happened is when I couldn't find the roles, it was like, okay, well then I just got to start over. And then you started to say, well, I think that's the great thing, or something like, you get to re-roll. And I was like, do not tell me how I'm supposed to feel.
I said the
right
stats don't matter as much in this game as in other games.
And then you saw what the stats were.
Well, but then you almost bit my head off.
I was like, you cannot reason away my feelings right now, Rob. Those were good stats.
But it's also just a game.
Yeah.
Gretchen was immersed in her stat rolls there for a moment.
I really
But
was.
that game is
But
very immersive.
It was, but the thing that I'm getting to is I was in a pissy mood and I was thinking like about changing up my character and going darker or whatever, and then I was like, just stick with it. And then I hopped right on into skis and just, it was fun. It wasn't heavy, and I was able to switch gears, and that was important.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are certain games like Alice is Missing. Oh, 10 Candles. That's another
10
very
Candles is
immersive
hard.
game. Really immersive. That I think when I'm playing those games, I'm looking for that immersion, and I kind of go all in.
Yeah.
Old School Essentials, at least last night, I was not looking for that. I just wanted to hang out with friends. Like, I was literally GMing while eating pizza, and we were all.
thought it was decent pizza too.
It was good pizza, and we were just all hanging out, having fun. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's more like to look at the game. Like, what level of immersion should I expect? I mean, obviously, you should talk about that in a session 0 kind of situation if you're going to be playing. Like Ironsworn and Starforge are games I think where you have to be immersed in them because it requires a lot of effort and energy from the players.
Yeah, those are dense. Those are very dense.
You have to be in the moment. We tried to play, you and I, but I don't think we were in the right headspace for it. Like, I think we're so burned out that when you and I have time to game together, we want to just have fun.
Yeah,
and this game is
out.
not that it's not fun, but it's also work. You have to really think hard.
Yeah, and thinking hard is not, it's not really my go-to when I'm well rested. So
You're not giving yourself credit because you are actually very, very smart. But
self-deprecating too much.
But I do think
Thanks for being smart. I appreciate that.
I think our sleep-deprived brains tend to be a little less capable of making every single connection
And I'm
between
pretty sure
A
my
and B.
son took some of my brains when he was born too.
Well, we were talking about, I don't know if we were talking about it on the podcast, but how we've sacrificed certain things for other things.
Yeah.
And you have gained
faster reflexes.
You've gained fast reflexes, but you've lost
the ability
short-term
to
memory.
form sentences, coherent sentences, to remember the word that I need to say.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Well,
I have to pause and look to the side so much now.
You have to to think.
Think of what is that word I want to say. What was I trying to say?
Always.
And thankfully, everyone is really patient. Parents have been really patient with me too, which is good.
Parents are so much more badass than I feel like I grasped at all.
Yeah.
When I
had no concept of what it meant to be a parent.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But boy,
amazing.
did I judge.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because now here, why don't we close off Immersion and let's talk about this on the other side. So
sure.
we'll go to
on
the
the
end
other
here.
side of Reimagined.
This break. Reimagined.
This is the end.
I've been reading a lot of these articles about when you read something on a website where you have an email account attached to, then you start getting stories from that website related to what you've searched. So if you have a Google account and you're looking up certain things via Google, then every time you go to Google, it will give you
Google's just a search bar.
Is it? Is it? Or does it offer story suggestions? Because it does for me on my phone. If I go to google.com, it will give me a bunch of suggested stories to read. What? You don't have that on yours? Let's see what my suggested stories are right now. I'm going to go to Google.
Let me put my glasses
fascinating. Fascinating here. This particular thing. So I'm opening up Safari right now, right? I'm opening up a new window, and I'm typing in google.com.
Oh, trending searches is what I have.
I have this.
What?
So I'm logged in, and it's got Commanders news. So I'm a Washington Commanders football fan. You can now play as a Minotaur, Kobold, and even Final Fantasy 14 races in Baldur's Gate 3. So
Well, we have
video game.
different privacy settings then, because these trending searches I don't really care about. President Joe Biden.
I don't know why.
Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless, Undisputed. CBS Morning, Tennessee Titans, UFC fight Rose Namajunas? These are not things I care about.
None of this is particularly, but there's like football stuff, horse stuff. 7 Dungeons and Dragons characters hiding in honor amongst thieves.
Aerosmith, you don't care about Aerosmith.
I like Aerosmith.
Yeah, but have you been searching for them? Do you ever talk about them?
Well, I do talk about them in the presence of my phone sometimes because I have the Aerosmith Get a Grip cassette.
Oh, yeah.
And Lincoln, when he asks for rock and roll music, that's what he wants to listen
That's funny.
to.
So I wonder what the settings are.
I have found some pretty good stories thanks to this weird Google thing. Some pretty good RPG stories. In fact, one of the recent ones that got in front of me related to the character Jonathan from the D&D from the D&D movie. It was from Collider.com, and it's an ode to Jonathan, our feathered friend from Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. And it's just about how these little side characters that you know nothing about become these like lovable icons. It was a funny little story. I mean,
I like that enough to want to play an Aarakocra seagull. And that's what Skis is.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I've got more funny things in store for him too.
Anyway,
what were we talking about?
We were talking about the search engines bringing stuff up for you, and I was going to say...
was it about emotional...
Yahoo brings me things about parents doing stuff that other people get mad about.
Oh, yeah.
So...
that comes up a little bit.
So it'll be like the debate about, people getting mad that kids are noisy at restaurants, or like somebody is on an airplane, or kid on a plane, or whatever other stuff.
Oh my God.
The thing is, though, is I actually get both sides, because if you're on an airplane with your child, and sometimes you got to go on an airplane with your kid. There's just no other way around it. I got to take the plane. Go on the airplane with the kid, and they're having a hard time, there is nothing you can really do. There is no escape from that. If they choose not to... There's a lot of techniques we all use as parents to calm them. But if those things don't work, there's nowhere to go. You can't leave with them. So it's not like the parent wants to make all of everybody miserable.
Yeah, but there's so many stories where, sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, that would piss me off. And other times be like,
Yeah.
So one of the ones that would upset me recently was this little kid was on a plane, and it was nighttime, and they have this hat, which is flashing a million different colors. It is a bright light
bunny
bulb.
hat.
I thought it was a unicorn hat.
It could go up and down. It could move. It moved.
Did it?
Yes.
Now see, I think that was a dick move on the parents' part, because that kid was excited about it. They let them bring it on the plane, and then everybody on the plane had to deal with it. That would even upset me.
That I would 100% agree with you, and that's exactly how I felt about it until I realized that it was all a TikTok stunt.
Was it?
And they just did it just for those few seconds on the airplane to film it, and it came out on TikTok, and it was all set up. Okay. So... But I do agree.
Still be annoying, though. TikTokers are annoying out in public, so that is still annoying. And you're also teaching
It was a red-eye
kid.
flight too. It was like an overnight flight.
Yeah. See, and that's also teaching your kid that you can excuse bad behavior if it's only for a few seconds.
I hate that too.
Yeah,
they use that child for that purpose. That really bothered me. I was thinking about that too. It's like, because Lincoln, he watches these videos of like Outdoor Boys. I mean, none of you people, maybe some of your parents know some of these videos. Outdoor Boys, or more famously, the Ryan's World, or Ryan's Toy Review. Anyway, they have these challenges, and they do these things, and Lincoln wants to do these challenges and stuff like that, and he's super cute while we're doing them. We'll like build stuff, and I'm like, we could video this and people would watch this, right? But then I'm like, do you really want to do that to your kid? Like, do you want to like make your kid an entertainment.
Yeah, he's allowed to have his anonymity, and he's...
Yeah, and also just to have fun.
And you and I rarely, if ever, post up photos of Lincoln.
I almost never do. It's weird, because, like, I see people do it, and I'm like, do people think I'm not, like, I don't love my child? I just want him to... We take plenty of pictures.
We have a private Instagram account that
which
only close people are invited to. And we pretty much, it's hard to keep up with that. I don't even keep up with my own Instagram.
I'm a little better about it now, just for newspaper purposes, for my articles and stuff. But...
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the other thing that popped up was there is this woman who had a 4-month-old kid, and she is doing the bounce to keep the kid calm.
She was in the emergency
exit aisle, like the very front, but it looked like a larger one than usual.
Yeah, I saw that too. It looked like there was plenty of space.
Yeah, because usually you have the screen on the wall, and these people had their own screens, but it looked like a larger thing. But people were upset because if they had paid that extra money for that extra legroom, they'd be annoyed about it. Well, they would be just as annoyed or even more annoyed if that kid had screamed the whole time.
I mean, I think it's valid in both ways. It's like you're talking about on the surface of that. Yes, that's true. Okay, like it might be a little bit annoying. But on the, we are all humans in this together in this world. It's a baby. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to it can be annoying, but it's a baby. Yeah. They're not trying to hurt you. Like, you know what I mean? They're not deliberately trying to make your life bad.
I mean, we were on that flight that was
yes.
that had the twins, and one twin was just
screaming, basically
the whole time,
the whole flight,
like literally screaming the entire time. Was that
and you could see the parents.
Savannah to Chicago? Was that the Chicago?
It might have been. The parents were so mortified by it. It was to Chicago because I remember thinking like. We were like, oh, this is going to be our future.
But the thing that upset me the most was the dad just got to keep the easy child the whole time. And didn't, we could hear what was going on. He did not get involved in what was happening the whole time. And I felt really bad for the mom because being in that position, you feel so lonely.
Well, but I also will say this. We don't know what the situation is there. We don't know, we know that there have been plenty of times when Lincoln literally rejects one of us, and he will not. Like last night, we're in bed, and he's you could touch him. He would not let me touch him, and you're holding his hand and snuggling him. So I'm not discounting what we saw.
She also deserved a break.
Of course,
just a little break.
Of course.
I think now at this point in my life, at this point being a parent, I would probably offer to try to help. But back then, there's no way I would have. I didn't understand how hard it is to be a parent. And I had patience for the kid. I had patience for the mom, the parents. And
we did then. I mean, you were pregnant.
Yeah. I was like, if I can't sit through this kid screaming for this long, then
yeah,
we made a terrible decision.
Yeah. Actually, it didn't really bother me. I just felt sympathy then, and now empathy.
It really kind of toughened us up for when Lincoln had hand, foot, and mouth and screamed for an entire day.
Poor kid.
Oh my God.
In so much pain. Well, this has been a bit of a wild ride of a podcast, but I think we can call it quits.
There's been a lot of ups and downs.
We haven't had a lot of time to talk lately, so...
No, we have not had a lot of time to talk.
We've had some game days, that's true, but we've also been really busy besides that. It's like whenever we haven't had a sitter, one of us has... A lot of times you've been at work, and I've been doing chores and maintaining the house and trying to do my writing when I can, and
I'm just sitting in the office feeling lonely.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting in the house feeling overwhelmed. So, running around the house feeling overwhelmed. So, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that my clients want to do more conference calls when I'm feeling really overwhelmed. But that's usually because I'm really busy. And that means there's more jobs in the house. I don't understand. I used to not have to have video conference calls.
It's weird how the pandemic made you have to have virtual face-to-faces more. than you used to. You used to almost never have to talk to people. And now it's like you're having to do these videos all the
Weekly,
time.
yeah.
Come on, world. Seriously.
I don't want to have to put makeup
Abolish
on for 20 minutes.
mandatory video calls in the workplace.
It's kind of interesting, though. Some of us will show up and we're just, clearly we have, like a recent job. I was still in the office at 1:45 in the morning when they sent some stuff over, and when we all met later in the morning, you could tell we had all been up.
It was
really
an
late.
early, it was like you had like a 9 or 10 a.m. conference call the next day. It was early.
Yeah, it was only just a handful of hours later.
Yeah, it was like 6 or 7 hours later you had
Yeah,
a
you could tell
conference
we
call.
were exhausted.
And the 6 or 7 hours were supposed to be middle of the night hours.
Yeah, but yeah, we were just like, this is who we are. This is the job we have, and we're doing this, and let's all drink coffee while we're talking to each other.
So all of you out there, if you made it through this episode, first of all, congratulations. I don't know how long this is, but it feels long. But also, if you made it to today, you're still doing it.
Woohoo!
You're doing great. Let's call it quits, Gretchen. Let's get out of here. Cookies are in our future.
Yeah,
Let's go get
because
some
the sun
cookies.
isn't here, so we can eat cookies when he's not looking.
All of you out there who are parents, go enjoy some cookies while your kid isn't looking. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, y'all.